What happens when the most beautiful and eternal beings in the world become consumed by darkness? When grace turns to cruelty and wisdom becomes a weapon. Within the Elves, where light should reign, there exists a potential for something far more sinister. What drives an immortal to betray, to kill, to destroy everything they once held dear? It's not a simple fall from grace. It's a descent into something far more terrifying. These are the Elves who crossed that line, whose deeds echo in the silence of haunted lands and in the fearful whispers of their kin. What twisted desire or unrelenting rage could push such beings to commit acts so horrific that their own kind dare not speak their names? As we uncover the stories of the 10 most wicked elves in Tolkien's world, ask yourself, what dark potential lies within the fairest hearts, waiting to turn everything to ash? Number 7. Eöl the Dark Elf. At the bottom of our list is one of the most unsettling elves in Tolkien's works, Eöl the Dark Elf. Now, unlike other elves, he preferred the shadows of Nan El-Moth, where even starlight barely reached. His heart was as dark as his forest home, and his deeds left a lasting stain on elven history. His most heinous act was the ensnarement and murder of his wife, Eredel, the White Lady of the Noldor and sister of Turgon, King of Gondolin. Seeking freedom, she wandered into Eöl's forest, where he trapped her with dark enchantments. Though they had a son, Maeglin, Eöl's love was possessive and suffocating, imprisoning Eredel and Nan El-Moth. When Eredel fled with Maeglin, Eöl pursued them with murderous intent. Captured and brought before Turgon, Eöl revealed his true nature, attempting to kill Maeglin rather than allow in freedom. In his rage, he hurled a poisonous javelin meant for Maeglin, but it struck and killed Eredel instead. For this, Eöl was condemned to death. Defiant to the end, he cursed Maeglin and all of Gondolin before being cast from the city walls. His curse would later come to fruition, with Maeglin's betrayal and the fall of Gondolin. Eöl's legacy is one of darkness and destruction. His possessiveness, cruelty, and hatred not only destroyed his own family, but also set in motion the events that would lead to the ruin of one of the greatest elven realms. Eöl's name is forever linked with treachery and tragedy, a dark chapter in the history of the elves. Number 6. Maeglin. Eöl's legacy of darkness continued through his son Maeglin, whose actions brought ruin to Gondolin. Maeglin, shaped by his father's possessiveness and his mother Eredel's nobility, was a tragic figure, born in the shadows of Nan El-Moth and fleeing to the hidden city of Gondolin with his mother. Maeglin inherited both darkness and nobility, but the darkness ultimately consumed him. Maeglin's most infamous deed was his betrayal of Gondolin. Consumed by unrequited love for his cousin Idril and driven by a jealousy when she married Tuor, Maeglin made a fateful decision. Captured by Morgoth's forces, Maeglin betrayed the secret location of Gondolin in exchange for power, sealing the city's fate. Morgoth's ensuing attack led to the fall of Gondolin, reducing the city to rubble and causing countless deaths, including many of Maeglin's kin. Tuor ultimately killed Maeglin, casting him from the city walls into the flames below, a fitting end to a traitor. His story is one of twisted fate, where the darkness inherited from his father led him to betray everything that his mother cherished. His name is remembered, not with honor, but as a symbol of jealousy and treachery, marking one of the darkest chapters in Elven history. Number 5. Caranthir. The fourth son, Fëanor, whose arrogance and quick temper had dire consequences for the Elven race. His relentless pride didn't just create friction, it tore apart alliances and deepened enmities, weakening the free peoples of Middle-earth when unity was most crucial. This capacity to fracture collective strength against Morgoth made him more terrible than Eowl's vendettas or Maeglin's betrayal. Caranthir's most significant act was his role as the division between the elves and dwarves, a rift with catastrophic consequences. His contempt for the dwarves of Nagrad and Belagost, despite their importance as allies, led to a near-total breakdown in relations. This scorn nearly sparked open conflict, severing a critical alliance in the struggle against Morgoth and leaving the free peoples more vulnerable to his assaults. Caranthir's divisiveness extended beyond the dwarves, creating rifts within his own people. After the Dagor Brakalach, when Morgoth's forces shattered the siege of Angband, he and his brothers were driven from their lands. Instead of rallying with other elven leaders, Caranthir withdrew, further fracturing the Noldor's strength. This retreat wasn't just a tactical error, it was a betrayal of the collective effort, leading to greater losses and a weakened resistance against Morgoth. Caranthir's legacy is one of destruction through division. His pride didn't just make him difficult, it dismantled fragile alliances essential to standing against the darkness. While not the most villainous of Fëanor's sons, his actions paved the way for tragedies that would unfold. In the end, his name became synonymous with betrayal and discord, a reminder of how unchecked pride can lead to ruin on a grand scale. Number 4. Curufin. Next on the list is Curufin, another son of Fëanor, whose cunning and ruthlessness surpassed even Caranthir's divisive nature. While Caranthir's pride fractured alliances, Curufin's treachery and ambition struck directly at the heart of his kin, spreading distrust and discord. Curufin's most infamous act was his betrayal of Finrod Felagund. When Beren sought Finrod's help to reclaim Silmaril, Curufin, with his brother Celegorm, conspired to usurp Finrod's power and Nargothrond. They swayed the Elves against their king, leading to Finrod's loss of authority and eventual death in Sauron's dungeons, a loss that resonated deeply in Elven history. Curufin's ambition didn't end there. He attempted to seize Luthien, Beren's beloved, intending to use her as a pawn in his eternal quest for power. Though the attempt failed, the malice behind his actions further tarnished his legacy. Curufin's manipulations extended beyond these betrayals, causing discord among the sons of Fëanor and exacerbating the worst impulses of those around him. His cold-blooded ambition and willingness to betray even his closest kin made him one of the most dangerous of Fëanor's sons. Curufin's legacy is one of betrayal and cold ambition. His actions not only led to the death of one of the greatest Elven kings, but also sowed seeds of mistrust and enmity that echoed long after his own death. While Caranthir's pride fractured alliances, Curufin's treachery struck at the very heart of his people, making him one of the most feared and despised figures in Noldor history. Number 3. Celegorm. Next on our list is Celegorm, the third son of Fëanor, known for his ruthless ambition and blatant disregard for others. Unlike his brother Curufin, who manipulated through cunning, Celegorm used raw force, often resorting to outright cruelty to achieve his ends. This drive, combined with his role in tragic events, places him high on the list of the most terrible elves in Tolkien's legendarium. His most infamous act was his attempt to forcefully marry Luthien, the daughter of Thingol and Melian, after capturing her while she sought aid for Beren. Seeing an opportunity to gain power over Doneth, Celegorm ignored Luthien's clear resistance, intending to use her as a pawn despite her love for Beren. This act was a direct challenge to the sacred bonds of love and loyalty in Middle-earth, and revealed Celegorm's utter disregard for others' rights and lives. He also played a significant role in the betrayal of Finrod Felagund. Alongside Curufin, he incited the people of Nargothrond against Finrod, undermining his authority and leading to Finrod's tragic death. Their ruthless pursuit of power made them two of the most feared and despised figures among the Noldor. His legacy is one of betrayal and ambition, driven by a hunger for power and a willingness to trample on others to achieve his goals. His name, along with Curufin's, became synonymous with the darkest aspects of the Noldor's history, a reminder of how unchecked ambition and treachery can lead to ruin. Number 2. Maedhros. That one is not pronounced like it's spelled at all, is it? Anyway, Maedhros, the eldest son of Fëanor, ranks as the second most terrible elf in Tolkien's Legendarium, not for any singular act, but for the relentless and horrific consequences of his unwavering commitment to the Oath of Fëanor. Despite his nobility and remorse, Maedhros' leadership in fulfilling the Oath's darkest demands cemented his infamy, driving the Elves to fratricide and despair. His descent began with the first kinslaying in Alqualand, where he participated in the massacre of his own kin to seize the Telerin ships. This act shattered kinship bonds and set the stage for further horrors. Yet it was his role in the subsequent kinslayings that marked him as one of the most terrifying figures in Elven history. The second kinslaying at Doriath saw Maedhros leading a brutal assault to reclaim the Silmarils, slaughtering his own kin and destroying one of the greatest Elven realms. The third kinslaying at the Havens of Sirion was even darker, as Maedhros attacked refugees, women, children, and the helpless, all in his fanatic quest to fulfill the Oath. In his final moments, after recovering a Silmaril, Maedhros found no peace. The jewel burned him, a symbol of his guilt and the irreversible consequences of his actions. In despair, he cast himself into a fiery chasm, but his death did not absolve him. It solidified the darkness of his legacy. Maedhros is remembered for the tragic fall of the Noldor, leading his brothers into the abyss, destroying realms, and staining the legacy of the Elves with blood. His cold resolve and the scale of the destruction he caused make him the second most terrible elf in Tolkien's world, surpassed only by his father, Fëanor. Number 1. Fëanor. At the pinnacle of this dark list stands Fëanor, the most terrible of all elves in Tolkien's world. His name is synonymous with pride, wrath, and cataclysmic events that reshaped Middle-earth. His legacy, marked by both brilliance and destruction, left a scar on history. Fëanor created the Silmarils, 3 jewels of extraordinary beauty and power, but his possessiveness over them led to his downfall. When the Valar requested the Silmarils to restore the light of the 2 trees, Fëanor refused, consumed by pride. When Morgoth stole them, Fëanor swore the Oath of Fëanor, binding himself and his sons to a relentless and destructive pursuit of the jewels. His dark legacy also includes his feud with his half-brothers, Fingolfin and Finarfin, mistrust and jealousy, fueled by Morgoth's lies, deepened divisions within the House of Finwë, and sowed discord that would erupt during the Noldor flight from Valinor. The first of Fëanor's atrocities was the kinslaying at Alqualand, where he led the Noldor in a brutal attack on the Teleri to seize their ships, spilling elven blood for the first time. This heinous act shattered kinship bonds and set a precedent for the violence and betrayal that would follow. His rebellion against the Valar, leading the Noldor into exile, brought the doom of the Noldor upon his people, ensuring sorrow and death would follow them. Even as his people suffered, his obsession with the Silmarils drove him to sacrifice his own kin. His final act was a reckless battle against Morgoth's forces where he was mortally wounded. His last words were a curse upon Morgoth, vowing never to rest until the Silmarils were reclaimed. Fëanor's legacy is one of brilliance turned to darkness and madness. His obsessive pursuit of the Silmarils led to the kinslayings, the sundering of the Elves, and the doom of entire realms. His actions, driven by unyielding pride and an unsubstantiated lust for his creations, left a legacy of profound and enduring ruin in his wake. As we reflect on these terrible elves, we're left with a haunting question. What drives beings of light and beauty into such darkness? Is it ambition, pride, or the fear of loss that turns nobility into tyranny? And perhaps most unsettling of all, do these same seeds of destruction reside within us all, waiting for the right opportunity to eclipse reason and compassion and to sprout into something far worse? Was Tolkien telling a story, or was this a reflection of the inherent darkness that lies within man? Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.